Social distancing is a must, but funk is a way of life. Let's get the funk since y'all been anywhere. Am I right? So all we really want you to do is have a great fucking time. If y'all want to have a great fucking time, can I hear you? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, check this shit out.
time, hasn't it? We've been cooped up in the house for 3 months. 3 months now? Wow. We love you. If you love us, it makes you love you even more.
And you know what else we love? We love the meters. Y'all love the meters? And if y'all don't know about the meters, we don't not like you or anything, but you need to listen to the meters. Cause this shit he playing right here, that's the fucking meters. Check this shit out. You have I got a right to live now, baby. People say, I said, have I got a right to live? People say, yeah, just like that shit. People say. Have your share and my share, and your share is my share too. Your eyes are moving, and your mind controlling what the powers do to you. I said destruction is in the air. Yeah. for their word. I say to somebody, you better get on the case. Good God, it's a real thing and the real thing true. Can't sell the case.
To let him do it, if you want me to let him do it. It's a groove, huh? I know the band is loving this right now. It's been a minute. We've been in the house. Make some noise if you've been in the house. We're gonna play another original. It's called Give Me Someone That I Love You.
Baby, give me some of that loving. Give me some of that loving. me some of that loving. Oh, give me some of that loving. Woo. Give me some of that loving. Ow.
Make some noise right now. All right, can we do better? Make some noise right now. I guess. It's called Bingo Garbanzo. It's another original.
Tom Belgrave on the saxophone. said, now shake that vibe, shake that thing. Down, you give your body to the swing now, baby. I said, now shake it, baby, darling, give it to me, baby. We're Sabbatical Bob. Make some noise if you're feeling good.
Breathe out. We can do two more. Breathe in. Breathe out. One big one. Last big one. Breathe in. And breathe out. How do you feel? Ben, how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel good. Like I'm doing I would not, yeah. Oh, I feel good, baby. Like I know that I would. So good. Oh, I feel nice. I like a sugar, I like a sugar, I like a sugar and spice. Yeah, I feel nice, baby. I like a sugar and spice. Oh, I feel good. the true president of the United States, James Brown. All right, smack that shit. All right, check this out. Y'all remember when we were fucking kids? We listened to those little fucking nursery rhymes about some shit. Well, this one's about a little bunny who you're gonna hear some shit about. I said down, 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 to the good fairy. And this is what she said. You got your 3 chances. Yeah, one, you better behave a little bunny, to be an annoyance, or I'll send you to the grave. You got your 2 chances. Yeah, one, you better behave a little bunny, to be an annoyance, or I'll send you to the grave. You got your 2 chances. Why, how you gonna stand there? Just picking up the field lights and popping them on the head. You got your 2 chances. Why, how you gonna stand there? Just picking up the field lights and popping them on the head. A little bunny boo-boo, I don't wanna see you picking up those field mice and popping them on the head. A little bunny boo-boo, I don't wanna see you picking up those field mice and popping them on the head. That good fairy. And this is what she said. Check it out, a little fucking bunny. You're doing it way wrong, you're doing it funny. You're doing it way wrong, you're doing it funny for a bunny. You gotta know how to respect yourself. And if you respect yourself, you're gonna knock off anybody and me else out. Oh, you got so much yourself. Do how you gonna stand it? Picking up the field guys, popping them on the head. You got so much yourself. Ooh, how you gonna stand it? Picking up the field guys, popping them on the head. A little bunny boo-boo, I don't wanna see you picking up those field guys, popping them on the head. A little bunny boo-boo, I don't wanna see you picking up those field guys, popping them on the head. I said smack that shit, smack that
Okay, the song's not over. That's Ian Illenbeckov on the guitar. Make some noise for that one.
Come on, make some noise for Ian on the guitar.
Make some noise.
All right, that's a little better.
Honestly, if you don't think he's bad, you can leave right now.
Yeah, this motherfucker's been bad since he was born. His mom popped him out. I was like, fuck. That's a bad motherfucker. And another bad motherfucker is that motherfucker right there. David Ward. I said David Ward. Everybody say it real quick. David Ward. Come on, say it, everybody. David Ward. Everybody real quick. I said David Ward. Yeah, one more time. David Ward. All right, check this shit out.
We got a few more. Time for funk. Yeah, it is time for funk. It's time for funk. Definitely time for funk. This is another new song that hasn't been released yet. We'll play it for you. It'll be on our next record. We don't know what it's called or when it's gonna come out, but it's coming up.
Bye.
got one more for you. I think we got one more. Give a hand for this band. This is Sabbatical Bob. Give a hand for this band.
Come on.
That's Kassan Belgrave over there on the saxophone.
Yes, sir. Let's hear it for Kassan.
Give a hand for Kassan Belgrave on the saxophone.
Yeah.
Right here we got my man Chris Kelly on the trombone.
Yes, sir. Come on, give it up for Chris.
Chris Kelly, make some noise.
Over there on the drums. That's David Arthur Ward.
I'm here. They don't.
David Arthur Ward, I say. Come on.
They don't need to know my middle. They don't need to know my middle name. Hey, that's Ian Aylenbeckhoff on the guitar back there.
Yeah, Iku Binku.
This man in the middle, lead singer, lead trumpet. That's Benjamin Green.
Thank you
bro.
so much.
And there's one more person we forgot to introduce. Do you possibly know who that may be? Does anyone know his name? Y'all all forgot his name.
What's his name?
No, that's not me. We're talking about this bad
What's his name?
motherfucker back here. All right, I'm gonna help you out. It's an open note quiz. That's John Muir Cotton on the bass. What's his name? What's his name? That's John. What's his name? John. Say John. 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 You gotta remember that. We gonna need you for this.
We're gonna need some audience participation.
We need you to remember his name. That's
John.
a funky motherfucker back there.
Because he's a funky ass motherfucker. Listen, you hear this? Y'all booty shaking and we ain't none of us playing. It's only him. That's some bad shit.
Y'all standing still, so I'm gonna help y'all out.
Shit.
I'm gonna help y'all out. Here we go. Shake that ass. I said shake that ass.
Come on. Come on, everybody, real quick. John. His name is John. John. His name is John. John. His name is. His name is. Come on, y'all got it. His name is. His name is. Come on, John. Right here, John. What's his name? His name is John. His name is. Okay, listen up. His name is. And he is funky. His name is. And he is funky. His name is John. And he is funky. Say the whole thing. His name is John. And he is funky. His name is John. And he is funky. His name is John. And he is funky. One more time. His name is John. And he is funky. His name is John. And he's a funky.
Okay, one more time, one time. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is, and he is funky. His name is John, and he is funky. They copped it. His name is John, and he is funky. Do it again. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John, and he is funky. Hit that. His name is, and he is funky. His name is Horns. What's his name? What's his name? His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John. All right, Horace, hit me, Horace. We gonna clap. Clap, 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 clap. Two hits. Two hits. Are y'all ready? Let's go. Come on, come on. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John, and he is funky. His name is John. Come on, Horn. Clap, 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 clap. Come on, clap, 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 clap. Two hits. Yeah, keep playing that shit. Hit, hit, hit. Are y'all ready out there? Are y'all ready? Let's go. We got one more for y'all. Thank you, Black Man. Thank you, Black Man. We got one more. We're gonna get out of here.
And this is an original too. Y'all might know it. It's called All Right.
Thanks, Blind Pig. Just so y'all know, our merch in the back, we got new t-shirts, and half of the proceeds go to the Ypsilanti Mutual Aid Fund, one of the greatest grassroots organizations, campaigns that I know. So help us support. Be on the right side of history. You like Sabbatical Bob, so that's the first step. All right, we'll serenade you on the way out. Thank y'all. Want you to tell me the truth, stay with me, love me, I'm making love to you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? That was an unbelievable set from Sabbatical Bob. Rebroadcast or broadcast live, or at least for the first time since their performance at the Blind Pig. That was an unbelievable set, man. Those guys just kill it. I'm pretty excited to jump into this interview. If you're just joining, definitely go back to the posted video. We streamed it live on Facebook, which you're probably watching now, but we were also on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch as well as Instagram. That was a very recent set, one of the first performances at the Blind Pig since COVID-19 shut everything down. But my name is Rick Coughlin. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, Michigan. We are 24/7 self-service rehearsal and creative studio for musicians, DJs, engineers, producers, and podcasters. We founded Grove Studios because we wanted to enable and help people create music and share their voices with the world. And because we believe enabling people's voices and sharing music with the world makes the world a better place. That's why we're doing this. And we originally started Grove Sessions to really highlight the artists in the local community and beyond, all the great music that's happening in our part of the world, which is Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, and Southeast Michigan, and Detroit, and following in all those great traditions of the music that we all love. And we thought that having Sabbatical Bob on today would be a proper celebration of the music that has grown and been pioneered really by Black Americans in general. Jazz, hip hop, and rock and roll are some of the most popular forms of music in the world, and pioneered and created by the Black community. And today is Juneteenth, as many of you know. And we thought this was a fitting way to celebrate that by sharing Sabbatical Bob's music, and really just celebrating what Juneteenth means. We understand that there are many people that don't understand what Juneteenth is, and so we want to share a little bit about that. But really, it's the oldest national celebration of the end of slavery, going back to 1865, and in fact, Juneteenth didn't happen until 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, when Union forces, were able to sort of subdue what was happening in Texas and create a situation that changed history, and we continue to find ourselves in that situation. But we wanted to celebrate it. The set was amazing. I think it was a really, really fitting way to celebrate this day. I know a lot of people are probably outside right now. The weather's nice, and people are there. There are celebrations and as well as protests going on. But bringing the music to the forefront is an important way to honor and celebrate Black Americans and everything that they have contributed to the world in general. But I just want to say that Sabbatical Bob is they're obviously amazing, but I love this line that they use in their bio, which is that they're committed to returning the funk to the people. Um, they flow in the traditions of Funkadelic, James Brown, the Meters, and many other artists. We're going to talk about some more of their influences, but that's certainly some of the influences that I hear in their music. And they're an Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti based multi-genre party band, as they coin themselves, and they do bring the party, man. Face melting is a word that comes to mind. From all of the instruments and the performers in the band, my face is definitely melting as we speak. If I was not in air conditioning, actually, I would probably be face melting a lot more. But you know, they keep the party started, man. They keep it going. I've had the great fortune of seeing them live. Anytime you can get into a room to check them out, or to a festival to check them out, as things open up, I highly recommend doing so. You can check out some of their recorded music at sabbaticalbob.wixsite.com. They're also on Spotify and Bandcamp. Sabbatical Bob is David Ward on drums, Jonathan Muir Cotton on bass, Ian Island of Beckoff. Man, I'm probably messing that one up, on guitar. As a guitar player, that dude is just straight sick. You guys are all sick, but with the guitar player, you're watching the guitar player some of the time. Jordan Anderson on keys, Ben Green on trumpet, Christopher Kelly on trombone, and Kassan Belgrave on alto sax. Just a huge band, super sweet, really nice guys. Thanks for being here, fellas. Super appreciate you guys taking the time. I know it's really nice outside and there's celebrations to be had, but really appreciate you guys showing up and talking to me for a little while.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, for sure. I always like to start like going back a little bit, right? Because we can see what you're doing now, and it's clearly amazing and just really inspiring. You guys are tight as hell. You'd never know that there was a pandemic that just happened. You guys probably weren't able to properly rehearse for some time, but that set was tight, man. You guys just crushed it. As a musician, I watch bands like you and others that just are just some serious musicianship going on there. You guys are seasoned players. I want to get into the backstory of, how you each first got into the music. And I know we don't have the whole band here, so you can't speak for them, but since we've got Ben and Kassan and David in the room, let's talk about your backstories and why don't you go first, David, since you're right there up front.
All right. Yeah. Let's see. Do you mean getting into this band or just music in general, or
take us a little bit back on your personal music story, and then talk about like how the band came to be a little bit, and you guys can all weigh in. This is conversational. So yeah, just pipe in when you want, cut each other off if you want. That's totally cool. We encourage that.
Word. Yeah, let's see. I started playing music when I was like 3 years old and playing in churches from Portland, Oregon. So that's where I grew up playing and learning how to play. And always played jazz, played funk and gospel music growing up. In high school, I got into marching band, did pep band. I really liked pep band. Started getting into my more rock music. I started playing ska and punk when I was in high school. Played different little projects. Played in an Afrobeat band and just trying to keep my toes wet with all the different styles, and ended up coming to University of Michigan for school, studying their jazz program, and that's where I met these guys. And the first gig we ever had was actually because of Kassan. He got an offer from some frat bro to play a frat bro gig, and I wouldn't say it any other way.
It was the worst. It was us three plus Kalen Amin on bass, and we didn't rehearse at all.
We had no music.
And we just like showed up and we played like random covers of tunes and just kind of messed around, and they liked it, so we kept doing it. more and more.
Yeah. This was actually like us three. Kind of like was the. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. That's perfect.
So actually, us three were like the original core of the band. The meaning behind Sabbatical Bob is our bass professor and distinguished bass player around the world, Bob Hurst. He took a sabbatical one semester, and so we just was like, hey, like Sabbatical Bob, like that's because that's we look up to him so much, and
we're trying to be Sabbatical Bob.
Right.
Nice. Shout out to Bob Hurst, the namesake of Sabbatical Bob. That's cool.
Yeah. So we just stuck with that, and he's one of our he's one influencer that we look up to, and he's part of a great Detroit lineage, and a lot of the music back in the day, legendary like singers, musicians from like Motown, that's kind of like our inspiration. So and Bob is like a great link to that. Also, my father too as well. He's a great trumpet player from the Detroit area. So we kind of that's our goal is to kind of carry on the lineage of Detroit musicians and all the funk. It kind of came all from Michigan, and we're like very lucky to be like in this environment where like just history of music has just been so like profound. So we're very lucky.
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's funny because like the Midwest, often doesn't get that cred. I think that it deserves. Like those of us that have lived here for a long time and having come, I actually came to Ypsi 25 years ago, and one of the reasons I came here was because I knew that there was a scene. And I'd been hanging out in Detroit with my father, having done a lot of work in Detroit and stuff. And we lived just outside of Detroit, but like that was a fixture for me too. And there's a rich history of music. Most people are familiar with the, Motown, the electronic music and everything else, but there's so much more, right, when you really dig into it. So, and it reaches, right? It reaches all the way to Ann Arbor. And that's one of the things that appealed to me about coming to school out this way. And it's cool that you guys met in school, and it's super funny that you guys did the whole bro frat party. So was the three of you on that gig? Is that it?
Us plus a bass player.
So bass, drums, trumpet, and sax.
Yeah.
That was it.
And you guys just killed it because you probably just had a ton of fun, and you guys are all great musicians. So like it probably did. I mean, you could have done anything and they would have been pleased, but you guys are all clearly great musicians. So
yeah,
thank you.
So I'm curious, like after that gig, like it sounds like it was just kind of this, fuck it, let's do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And was that the moment where Sabbatical Bob was really born, where you guys were like, oh, I think we have something here?
Really, the moment that Sabbatical Bob was really born, because that was just kind of like, let's make some cash. It was like a decent pay for four people at a frat party. Whatever. But we were like, maybe we should have a rehearsal.
Yeah.
And we needed a guitar player. Ben, I think, was the one who...
Yeah, I met this guy, Ian Beckhoff, who you've all now seen play. You all know like what he can do. I met this dude. I had never spoken to him in my life. And then just by fate, I ended up in a car with him driving all the way to New Orleans, there and back, like in the same week, just by chance. Had never even met the guy, and like saw this guy playing guitar, and I was like, whoa, like this is exactly
what
we need. He's a freshman
in
college.
Freshman.
Sounds crazy already. He's like super quiet, like you never, like super unassuming. You would never know. So then he shows up to our very first actual rehearsal as a band, and we wrote 3 songs.
We wrote all right immediately.
Yeah, we wrote all these songs, and like it just like made so much sense. And we were like, "Gee, this is exactly what we need." We were laughing so hard, like in the little tiny rehearsal room at like 1 a.m. at the U of M music school. We probably bothering the janitors. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
That's where it was born.
That's where we knew. That's where we knew.
Yeah, and like the guitar, as you know, I mean, you guys are clearly like very rhythm and horn driven, right? There's a lot going on there, but everybody really plays their part. I mean, that was one of my impressions, is that like all of the instruments and voices just really like balance through the whole thing. And you know, as a guitar player, I mean, he's a sick guitar player. Like he's really good, and it brings a you know, there's an element that it brings, right? If the guitar wasn't there, it's another part, but that's so cool. So how many years then is that? Like how many years ago was that initial get together in at the music school?
Yeah, it was 3 years ago.
3 and some months.
3 and some change.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I find it just really refreshing. And I know you guys clearly have like a vein of musical influences, you know, from family and everything. Ben, well, uh, David and Kasan, you talked a little bit about your music background, but what about you, Ben? How did you end up in this place?
Yeah, so like when I was like a little kid, like my parents were always playing music, and I was like always like singing with stuff in the house, and like I never really did anything outside of just like that context of like my dad was playing all kinds of stuff from the Grateful Dead to like Michael Jackson to like some Howard Jones, like 90s synth pops. Like I had like all these like this huge range of like stuff that my dad would play around the house, and I love that stuff. And then like in elementary school and stuff, I was like in like a youth choir because like I really wanted to learn how to sing, and like I was just like, man, like I gotta like kind of figure that out. And then like by the time I got to high school, I started playing trumpet, and then like when I like first started like thinking like, wow, like, I could like play stuff like mainly on my trumpet. I was like, that's like would be an incredible idea to get paid to play music on this thing that like I do all day for fun. So I was like, well, that'd be like a really interesting thing. And then that year, Sean Dobbins heard me play. Sean Dobbins is if you don't know, like a local. He lives in Ann Arbor, Ipsy area. Fantastic drummer, jazz educator.
I studied with him for the last 3 years.
And he founded this thing called the Southeastern Music Academy, and he kind of like took me under his wing and was like, yo, like you should play like this stuff. And I like that was my first like real experience into jazz that wasn't like my high school jazz band. And then like that was like a very formidable experience, and like, oh, like this is the kind of stuff that I want to be playing. Like this is the music that I need to be playing, not like the classical repertoire and whatever I had been learning. And like with that, like the funk and soul and stuff that I listened to as a kid, and then like I like started playing jazz pretty intensely for a few years, and then it's like, well, like where else would you get to besides funk? Like that's like where those two worlds kind of meet. So like once we started doing that, I was like, yeah, like this is the most fun I've ever had playing music with this band, like by far. It's like a surreal experience. So like that's kind of how I got there.
Mm-hmm.
But just
That's
like
cool.
David, super involved in like marching band and pep band in high school, like writing arrangements and doing stuff like that, and like that like I think translates into this setting fairly nicely, because like you have that like general concept of like this is what you want the horns to sound like in your head, and like how do we get that into like reality. So yeah, I think like the whole band like works like pretty closely to like get that, and like we have horn rehearsals and stuff, and it's like very, very fun to play in the section and with these guys.
Yeah, I mean that definitely strikes me when I'm watching you guys perform, is that you guys are just having a shit ton of fun. And you know, I as a musician myself, like what fun is it if you're not having fun? And I like that everybody, you know, it's in a band that you have like a specific sound, right? That follows in the tradition of some of these bands that have done this stuff, but it feels fresh and unique, because I think you guys are bringing all of your musical experiences, right? Like that's what happens in a band.
Mm-hmm.
Much the same way as I play in the day nights, and we're more on the R&B, kind of blues kind of side of things, but I mean I used to play in an alt country band, if you can believe that. So it's like, I like that. I like the diversity of like the different musical influences that you guys have, and you all coalesce in this like this group thing. And it's so cool to watch. And it's cool to watch you guys have so much fun. And I think that translates so well to the audience. I mean, having been in your audience before, this is this kind of music, like you can't not dance, you can't not move your body. And
Point.
it's good stuff. So, all right. So I'll go back. Like, so you guys became Sabbatical Bob. We got the name. Um, we talked a little bit about like the area and like Southeast Michigan and some of those influences. But being, coming out of, music school in Ann Arbor, and, playing in this sort of area of Michigan. I mean, how has that influenced you guys? Cause you have some contemporaries in the neighborhood, right? And we got like Wolfpack doing their thing, Snarky Puppy. I mean, I go back, like, even when I think about like some hip hop stuff and like, Athletic Mike League, or I don't know if you guys remember, you guys are a bit younger, but when I first came to the area, like Funktelligence was a big group at the time. They were kind of like a hip hop, but like funk blend kind of group. Those guys moved out to LA. Um, Mayor Hawthorne kind of came out of that scene and stuff like that. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, there's a long tradition of like just the Ann Arbor area, and jazz and there's other scenes too, right? Like, there's a folk music scene and there's a rock scene and stuff, but this genre is, I feel like, always been strong. So, but I guess my question is, because I'm rambling, how is living in this area and participating in the scene here? How's that affected you guys as musicians, and what does the scene locally mean to you?
Well, like it's interesting that you put it the way you put it, because I personally I feel like if you think of the genres, which I'll be that hipster who just says I hate the term genres, and we know, but on the business side of me, I know what the terms, what genres are used for, and that's what I really think genres are for. But if you think about the music scene in terms of genres, you find there are pockets of music for almost every genre that you can think in Southeast Michigan, and you can find that. We've all played tons of different types of gigs, together or apart, country, punk, blues,
musicals,
trad jazz, musicals. Yeah, so like Chaldean music. The list goes on. You can find anything. But the thing that I think is cool is that in Ann Arbor, there's a few major genres that have a decent number of bands in them. But in my opinion, the funk, groove-oriented, jam-oriented music, while there are a decent number of bands in our, if we needed two other bands to open with us, I have a long list I can start calling from, right? Especially in this area. But
that's the truth.
None of us sound the same. And that's like super fresh to be in a place where bands that are successful, whatever you consider to be successful, bands that are playing a lot and they're continuing, bands that aren't just
working,
and bands that are working, they all sound different. And I've been in Portland, where I'm from. I remember growing up, and there's a big scene for like cover bands, but then all the cover bands sound the same because they're playing the same covers. But you can be successful like that, so that encourages that musician in that area to go, well, I can play this music and sound like the other bands, and I'll make enough money. But for us, we know that like in this genre of music, it pays literally to be different and unique, because that's what everybody else is doing. I don't hear two similar funk bands around here, but they're still slamming,
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think that's what attracted me to the area too, because there was so much different stuff. There are different, like, it almost feels like, and like you guys mentioned, you're playing this and that, this gig and that. I mean, you guys are professional musicians, and so sitting in or picking up a gig here or there, like playing in other genres, is really, it's part of the game if you want to be a professional musician, right?
Straight up.
So being adept at playing in different genres, like, I totally get that genre thing. It is, people do want to put it in a bin, when you like at the record store, you're like, oh, this is the hip hop section or whatever. Like, for casual listeners or fans, I think it helps. Like, well, what kind of band are you?
Right.
But I totally, that what you say makes total sense. And there are a lot of funky, they're like a funky bands around here, but they don't sound the same. You guys sound nothing like Wolfpack, but you're every bit as rad. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'll take-
I'm a sucker for a horn section to boot, so that helps, right?
People. That's a niche. That's a niche that if you can get it down, people will remember you. That's like it's nostalgic, but also it gives you so many options to be fresh. Like man,
You can do so many.
you can do so many things. Yeah, the horns, the horns.
Yeah, I'm 100% with the horns. You guys have some live recordings, on the website over on Bandcamp and everything else. Do you guys have any studio plans in anytime soon? I mean, I know live you guys are just sick live, so like it just makes sense to throw up some microphones and just go. But are you working on any studio stuff or planning on it?
So we have like a whole album pretty much written in the works, and we just are kind of waiting. We've been waiting for this kind of COVID situation to calm down and
bring everyone
back to Ann Arbor, who has since went home to their various places. Our piano player Jordan Anderson's in Minneapolis. Our guitar player Ian Allenbeckhoff is from Baltimore. So like we need Alon Sullivan went back to Grand Rapids. So we kind of need to get all in the same place at the same time and like really hash out the new material, because only a core group of people actually like were there when we wrote everything and like solidified the new stuff. So we're very eager to get that done, and we really want to give it to everyone as soon as possible. So
yeah,
cool. Do you have any timelines that you might be able to share? And I know it's complicated because you guys are a big group. I got to imagine like coordinating those schedules has got to be a real challenge.
I think a good goal would be like a fall release this year, similar to what we did with
like late fall,
winter,
early
before
winter.
the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, the fiscal year is still here.
And most of us, so me, John. So like most of the band is still in school basically. Like we're still in the school environment. I graduated last year from U of M, but I'm going to MSU in the fall. So I'm gonna be still like doing the academic stuff.
Same with our bass player.
Yep. Same with John. He's coming to MSU. Ian's still a senior at U of M. Alon Sullivan, our other saxophone player, he's doing his doctorate. So these two graduated, but they'll still be in the area. So we still got some individual stuff going on, but they're moving to another house, and it's gonna be they'll turn into
Sabbatical Bob headquarters.
Yeah, to like a
awesome.
So we got
plans to still move.
Yep.
Plans to still tour.
Yep.
Plans to still gig. It's just another business expense. We got two cats an hour and a half away. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So is everybody in the band? Is everybody a music school student or formerly a music school student?
Chris Kelly, our trombone player, is he? Did he graduate?
He has a master's in civil engineering.
I think it's civil engineering.
Wow.
Yep. He is not a music dude.
I could give you a quick history of Chris Kelly, because he's one of the more interesting. He's one of the anomalies of the group that makes us the way that we were just talking about this. If it wasn't for Chris and the way he is, we wouldn't be Sabbatical Bob. But Chris, so when I first moved here, my first go at a good band was a ska band called Cool Socks, and Chris was hired to sub as a guitar player for a gig last minute because my guitar player just I don't know, double booked himself or something. I don't remember. And so Chris comes in and he can read music, and I wrote the charts for him. That band was kind of weird because it was like we played like ska and punk and like kind of like live music, and we would try to play at parties, but we never rehearsed, and I wrote all the music out so everybody could read music really well, and everybody read the music, kind of like a wedding band, but we tried to do it at a house party. So Chris showed up and just read the music great, and he killed it, and he's originally a guitar player, and he builds his own guitars and things like this. But then he's like, oh yeah, I also play trombone, because we had a trombone player in Cool Socks. He's like, so if you need me to sub there too, I'll do it. And I think he did one gig or something, but then when we made Sabbatical Bob, we were looking for a trombone player.
Like, why wouldn't we just get Chris?
Yeah, that was immediately.
Duh.
And he can play, he can imprise, and he's actually an EDM producer.
Yeah.
So like
crazy. Check him out.
One of our songs, Game to Fight, is actually the B section was originally like a trippy, glitchy dubstep EDM like hop thing, and then we turned it into that. So like
I love it.
That's Chris, man. So he's the only one who's not a music student.
Cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. You know, it's like just a different. And you said civil engineering, so it's like, you know, if you know any other engineers, there's a way of thinking and like problem
Yeah.
solving, and it's like next level stuff that as not an engineer, you're sometimes blown away by like how they think, right?
Absolutely. He would get going, and we are. Yeah, it's not. I mean, like it's like I don't want it to. I catch it before it goes over my head, but it's almost
Yeah,
there.
he's on that
you
next
know?
level thought.
Yeah.
Smart boy.
He's the
That's
smart
cool,
one.
man. So is everybody? Yeah, I mean, this might be digging in too deep, but like, you know, graduations are coming, but everybody seems to be like fully on board with the Sabbatical Bob thing. You guys have done some touring. It sounds like you have some kind of touring vehicle that you're preparing or have been preparing for some time. Talk a little bit about what tours you guys have done. Maybe give some advice to some people that are thinking that they might like to tour too. Touring is obviously hard right now, but it's going to happen, and there are things happening. So how are the tours been? And yeah, any advice you guys have for touring?
Well, the tour. We've done one tour together. All in our 1970 Kon-Tiki RV. It's 29 feet long, A-class motorhome. It has a Chrysler B engine from 1969 in it, which was like a semi-engine, and it motors along. But yes, our first tour we did completely DIY. Everything that we've done has been completely DIY.
I guess.
Yeah, but we did it completely DIY. Dave slaved away at trying to communicate with as many venues as possible around the different places that we thought about going. You want to talk a little bit about that process?
Oh yeah, that's
advice for some people?
Okay. So pretty much, my biggest advice that I like understood as a young adult, like not young adult, I would say when I was 13, my dad gave me a book called The Guide to the Touring Musician. Oh, I can't remember the author, but it was an
I know
old,
the book.
yeah, you see the cover. I see the cover in my head, but it's an old school. Like, this is how you book a tour. Like, this is how you like the reality is most musicians in America who tour are DIY booked. That's just reality. I would say the world too, but I don't know those scenes. But yeah, so from a young age, I knew, it was always in my mind, the first time I go on tour, I'm gonna be the one, or I'm gonna be working with the one, or I'm in a band where one of the other members is the one who books a tour and we go on tour. Like, the fantasy of like tour busing and planes and all that was never in my head as a kid. So I knew there was something possible. Fast forward to being 21, 22 years old, and social media is where it's at right now. I've already seen it go down where tours can be booked completely off of social media. And so
That's what we did.
and that's exactly what we did. And here's the steps, man. It's just like this. Just go pick a route. That's the hardest part, because you think, well, what if they don't have these dates? Blah, 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 blah. Just pick a route. Start there. You'll be good. Pick a route, and then research every venue along that route. In that plays music that you would serve to them, and then contact them about dates. And that's like the OG way. And I also had help with, there's a page called DIY Tour Posting. So you ask for dates in areas, and it's a Facebook page, and people help you out. Three of our dates were on that page, and the other 6 were just going online and looking up the club information. Everybody has their manager or their email or their phone number, so contact them. Have a nice email. Have your press kit together. That's another big one. Tried to book tours before, out of town dates, but no press kit makes you look really bad. So just have a file. We have a Google Drive folder with cover,
potential
song list,
promo videos, like
pictures, art, logo, bio, stage plot, everything. It just makes you look good, because that's the trait of a good band. So it's not like it's a real way of, you look good when you do take those steps. And
they help you, because then you have all your stuff to send to people when they ask for it. You don't have to get anything together.
Yep. Final step is promote. In today's day and age, it's beautiful. I could use Facebook and Instagram to promote our shows. and it costs some money. But you gotta spend money to make money, and that we had video at that point. We've had videos. Ben does a lot of video editing. We've got some followers on Facebook. Great, I'll spend this amount of money to promote each show for however long before the show happens. We'll see how many people we get. It was our first time. There were some things I liked about it. There's some things I didn't like about it, like the data. You can just analyze it and whatnot. But that's it. It's not as complicated as people think. If you think about, but if you know all the steps, there's a decent number of steps. It's pretty much doing all the work. It's not as scary and complicated.
Yeah, but it does require work, right? Like there's not, it is a DIY thing and you got to just do it, right? And it sounds like really, for those who are watching, it's just a combination of like doing it old school, right? Like you have to actually pick up the phone probably and call people, right? Like it's just it's a blend. The coolest thing about now though, right? Like I'm thinking about as you're talking about social media, it's like, well, you can target the actual areas that you're going to be in. Like 10, 15 years ago, you just weren't doing that. And that's what's so remarkable. It's like you can carve out.
Yeah, flyers or radio was the best.
Yeah, that was the only chance 15 years ago. Like there was no other way, and now we can do it at the click of a button. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah.
And we can see how many people in a given area are interacting with our ads. Also, like, these people might not be down because like we're not really getting that many interactions with our content. Like when they click on it, versus like this location is. Mm-hmm. So like that's like really helps us out to give kind of a general idea of what it might be like attendance wise if we decide to play a show there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's really valuable advice for anybody watching. I know setting up a tour definitely can seem daunting to some, but it takes real work and it takes dedication and you're right. You do have to pay for some ads and things like that, but sounds like totally worth it. So where did you guys go on this tour? What was your path?
We started in, we kicked off the tour in Ipsy. We played Ziggy's.
It was great.
It was great.
Really great show.
Shout out to Ziggy's.
Love Ziggy's.
And by the time, like the day after we played Ziggy's, Dave and I, that was like Friday night, and Dave and I had to go get the RV, which we still had not gotten, and we still really didn't know if it worked on Saturday.
And we picked it up, and we broke down 3 times.
Just the drive from around Toledo, Ohio to Ann Arbor, and Dave and I were very stressed.
We were very scared.
We had like a little meeting, just us, and we were like, all right, like what are we gonna do? Like the tour is about to get canceled if we can't use this RV, and like we decided to go with the RV because it was gonna cost more in hotels than to just buy this RV that we have now. And we were like, you know what? We should just trust it all the way. And
that was our motto was trust it.
The next day, we showed up at the house. Dave and I loaded all of our shit in the RV, and we picked up everyone in Ann Arbor, drove down right up Packard, and right past the police station.
And to think the thing that was making our RV shut down was as simple as an air filter. Yeah. And we changed the air filter, and it just started humming. And
yeah. There's also some water in our gas tank, but that's fixed too.
Oh yeah, we got the water out of the gas tank and everything.
We need some transmission. It's good.
As a side note, we won $50 and a pizza as bets from various people about if our RV was going to make the tour, and we did, and we won $50 and a pizza.
All maintenance. Nice. In the morning when we woke up, I would just like have the list of shit that broke the day before, and then we fix it. One of the things that we never got to fix, which was somewhere after our Grand Rapids stop. Oh, I guess back to tour. Sunday, what was tour?
Okay, so the first date was Fort Wayne, Indiana on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
At the Ruin Bar, and then we made it back up to Grand Rapids
on Monday night for their
Tip Top Deluxe
Monday night funk thing residency.
Yeah,
and then someday between Tuesday and Wednesday.
It was that night.
We lost our license plate.
It just flew off.
Which we had just gotten after a long battle with the Secretary of State, who repeatedly told me that my RV does not exist, even though I drove it there. I was like, no, it's outside. We can look at it.
Just step outside and take a look. It's over there.
The only one.
When we finally got our license plate, we lost it, and then proceeded to drive through 5 states without a license plate, and never got pulled over once.
Yeah, he hit a cop though. I will put him on blast. He hit an off-duty cop. Well, he didn't hit him. Okay, I said it as worse as it could sound. Just at first.
Gave a nice little fender bender in a gas station parking lot.
To an off-duty cop who was very
upset,
adamant at telling us that if we didn't follow up with our insurance claim,
he was going to find us.
He was going to have his cop buddies in Ann Arbor come pay us a little visit. So,
oh my God! Oh,
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, shout out to Progressive Insurance. Y'all paid for everything. No fault, small accident forgiveness. Our rate didn't go up.
It was beautiful.
Beautiful, and a cop had a bad day.
Yeah, the cop had a bad day. It was pretty good.
Yeah. It's a win-win. And like our RV had no damage. That thing is made of metal. It could probably drive through the gas station at no scuff. But the poor guy's car had some.
So let's see. Tuesday was our only day off.
Yeah, and
So
that's when I got the license plate.
So Tuesday was our only day off. We drove all the way down to St. Louis.
Well, no, we drove halfway there.
Oh, to Bloomington,
Indiana. And then we drove to St. Louis to play at BB's, Jazz, Blues, and Soups.
Which is apparently a lot of cats play there. Miles Davis played there. BB King played there.
Lettuce,
and like
Ghost Snow.
St. Louis is a cool city, man. I've hung out in St. Louis before. It's a cool city, man.
Definitely, that was a very fun time.
But yeah, okay. Then so St. Louis was Wednesday night. The next day we had to get from St. Louis to
Ohio.
Toledo.
No, Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
Which was a long.
They party in Bowling Green, don't they?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Oh, yes, they do. And we were late, but we hadn't stopped driving. Like we didn't leave late. We were still late. Like it was a long, early drive from St. Louis with the time change.
We left like 8 something.
We left at like 7:30 or 8.
Yeah.
We had got in at like 3.
Yeah, from the previous gig.
Yep, and so Bowling Green to Newport, Kentucky.
Yeah, that was
we kind of did some zigzagging. That's why I say pick a route, doesn't always work. You gotta do what you gotta do.
But we met up with Matt Waters and the Recipe there. And what was that place called? It was a converted church to a venue.
Southgate
House
Revival. It was cool.
That was very cool. Very fun show.
And then the last show was the next day in Lafayette, Indiana, called The Spot, and that was
a very fun.
That was
show.
the best way to end tour.
Yeah.
It was a packed show. The other band was killing.
Yeah, it was
and they gave us a bunch of free beer, and it was nice people, and we ate some bomb Chinese food courtesy of his parents sending us a Venmo because they knew we'd been eating
chicken and rice every day.
Chicken and rice was. Oh yeah, you want to talk about the logistical part of tour, like getting all these people going and fed and slept. That RV saved the day because. And we had Chris.
It sleeps 7, by the way. So the first 2 stops when Kassan was with us, that's 7 people.
Yeah. Yeah, we had
on
7
a 29-foot RV.
It was pretty great. But so Chris actually, we
4
went
feet per person.
We went to. Oh my god. We went to Costco.
That is too much.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
We went to Costco and bought a bunch of rice and a bunch of chicken breast and a bunch of different types of sauces and veggies, and he just meal prepped a whole week worth of chicken and rice that we ended up running out of on Thursday.
Yeah.
We were out of it, but that was a big cost saver,
Yeah, we really didn't have to buy a band meal except for one other time, and that was at Waffle House.
Yeah, we ate a Waffle House one night.
That was some tasty.
That was great.
If there's a Waffle House, it's you kind of have to stop almost.
Yeah. With the RV, it's just everywhere we went, we got a 36-pack of White Castles, and we pulled up in the RV, and everyone was like, "What the hell is going on? Who are all these people coming out of this giant lunchbox that's driving down the road?"
But then check this out. This is the best part, and I'm sure there are tons of other options, but we utilized one option for parking the RV, having showers, having running water, and we didn't use our onboard bathroom, so we needed a place to shower a couple times. We went to the state parks. There's state parks everywhere, and there's also just RV campsites everywhere. And sometimes there was one night, well, probably the most frustrating night. We had made a reservation and paid over the phone for an RV spot at a state park run by the state of Ohio, and we show up
and it's
locked.
There's no one.
It's like 2 a.m. Like we called ahead and made sure like we figured if they could answer the question, are you going to be? Can we have a late check-in? Can we have late check-in? Is it okay? Like, do you have showers and things like this? If they could answer these questions, we figured it would be open. But we show up and we do nothing, and then we took another 2 hours to find another place, and then we pulled in there and a lot of places that was going back to Ohio, huh? Oh yeah, that was a horrible night. A lot of places have these late check-in. Like you can just show up and it's pretty much on the honor system.
It's just like, all right, grab your paper and leave an envelope of your money. And I guess if no one left an envelope, they wouldn't even know in the first place. But
and so that's how we slept. And there was one place that had showers. It was in St. Louis. It was like an RV park at a casino, and they had showers. That was
the KOA had showers too.
Oh, the KOA had showers. Yep. And then we did one truck shop shower. So
where was that at?
I don't remember. That's 3 showers for 7-8 days, which had to be done. We really just had to do
we got 3 showers, right?
Yeah, in 8 days. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Pretty much a shower every other day.
It smelled bad on the RV, but then after the tour, I bought a 12-pack of Pine air fresheners and hung them in every place in the RV.
Did you really?
So by now, it smells like a pine tree.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, the little pine trees. Like it's actually. So we're gonna walk on the RV. And it's gonna smell brand new.
No, it's not gonna smell brand new.
On its
That's not what that
birthday.
smell is gonna be.
That's just gonna be artificial.
Yeah, it's gonna
like.
Oh my
smell
god.
like Miami
Oh no.
So yeah, that's how we got that tour done, man. It was a
Total cost for the RV was with tires 6. It has 6 wheels. With
7
6
and a spare. 7 brand new
Total
tires.
$2,750, right?
How much did he take off?
$1,000 for, and then it was $1,000 for the tires. Yeah, so we spent less than we would have spent on hotels.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the most salient points of the whole like tour recollection thing is like you guys did the math and figured out that you could just buy this RV for the same, like for less money than all of the hotels. Like
hotels. Yeah. And now we can do many tours with our own hotel.
Yes. Our moving hotel.
Without room service.
And I gotta imagine. I mean, you guys must get along pretty well because it's a big band. To be all together like that.
I think we do our best.
We okay. I think what's luck. This is our saving grace. I think Chris is our saving grace because we're all loud arguers, except for Chris
and Ian.
Everybody argues.
Ian doesn't argue.
We accepted. Ian argues. We accepted that we would that we would argue and we would get annoyed and whatnot.
John is our saving grace too.
Yeah, but John was, so we didn't have John.
Instead of John Mirkan on bass for tour, we had Benjamin Wood.
He was a freshman.
Shout out to Ben Wood.
A freshman.
Funny dude. He knows. He's probably maybe listening. I don't know, but
yeah. But yeah, we argued. We argued a lot. I would say a normal amount.
At least one amount.
Yeah. At least twice a day.
At least once every.
No more than like a family would argue going on a trip like that. You know what I mean?
And it was mostly we'd only argue because like all of us were hungry. And we were just like
Yeah.
And then the other person, and then like
we're most of us are over 21, so we had ways to alleviate our pain.
Whiskey's our friend.
Yeah, whiskey was our friend.
And a beer, nights. A beer in bed before
Don't be afraid to say it. What's our number one friend?
One of my friends when I was a very young musician who he had toured Europe. And much like a very scrappy way, not in an RV or anything, but he said, like they would get like free beer and stuff. Right. And he was like, after a while, a Hefeweizen or any kind of, wheat kind of beer kind of tastes like a ham sandwich.
Yeah. It's great. It's when that's all you've had to eat all day. Yeah. What did we drink the whole time? It was, hams.
Oh yeah, I know hams.
And we had Rolling Rock.
And then we bought some Jack Daniels one night.
A couple times.
Just because, if you're going to drink the cheapest beer ever, you might as well treat yourself once or twice to a nice...
Tennessee honey whiskey.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Tennessee anyway.
I think it's like an amazing it's Ian Burke was just piping in on the chat. I don't know if you guys know Ian, but he said that you guys are giving super valuable advice. Is there anything that you would not do as far as touring goes again? Is there any lessons that you learned from that tour?
Yeah, the whole debacle with the sleeping arrangements was something that I put off until the end because I knew at worst there were options like that.
And we could park in a Walmart.
Park in a Walmart if need be and have some power. Maybe.
But definitely ahead of time next time, finding out where it's economical that has like the amenities that we need, and like really solidifying like this is exactly where we're gonna be, and like we already have a reservation. Instead of finding out at 2 a.m. that the reservation you booked is not even available, and like you can't even get into the park, and you're hungry. But at least you have 36 White Castles, so you know.
Also, I wouldn't say it's something I did wrong, but I definitely like my methods of advertising weren't as the return wasn't as great for the money spent. It was still decent in a lot of places, but I didn't. I would have liked to see more the whole time. I guess anybody would. So I'd find another way. I think the places where we didn't play with other bands had the least amount of return, so I wouldn't want to do that again.
I think something that we just learned at this Blind Pig show too is like we invested in a printing press for our band for shirts, a screen printing press. So we can make our own custom merch that looks really clean. It's super professionally done. And until this, we've also done it DIY, but in a much different way. We took like vintage items of clothing and just ironed our logo onto them, and we were selling $35 sweatshirts at co-op parties and frat parties in Ann Arbor, but on tour, like this is what we find out at the Pig is like when your stuff looks really professional and everything's really nice and like consistent, people are willing to spend not only more money on your merch, but they're going to buy more of it. Because if your logo is and like the presentation of like your brand is clean and cool enough that like someone who hasn't even listened to your music and doesn't even know about that aspect of you would still buy it, you can be way more successful. Because then someone that's there not even to see the band, just go to the bar, is still inclined to buy something maybe just because it's cool and you made it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think, I'm thinking back into some of the earlier bands that I was in and having that professional merchandise for the first time. I recall definitely situations. I mean, we'd show up to a place and we'd set up our merch and we hadn't even started playing yet. And there'd be people coming up to the table, seeing the merch because it's cool. And we sold merch and they were like, yeah, I got to take off, but I really like that t-shirt.
Yeah, we did the exact same thing. Like we sold a ton of merch before.
I was like,
played.
Wow, we really should have just had the good t-shirts at first. I mean, we still had money. People are still buying them though, and there's some unique items and low startup costs. Like there's a lot of factors. But
I think we were spending $1.15 on our merch the first round.
Nice.
So when we did it DIY.
Yeah, double DIY.
Yeah,
that's really smart. Yeah, and being able to produce them yourself makes a ton of sense. Especially,
we're taking on clients where we will print your t-shirts for you.
Yes,
that's good to know.
Yeah,
hit us up, anyone, everyone. We can deliver them to your house. We have multiple colors. We can print. We have everything to print.
We have and wrapping paper.
We have a screen burning room built in our house now. We are set up.
We'll make your t-shirts or your pants or whatever you want.
Sabbatical Bob, printing and t-shirt emporium.
Yeah, and video service recording.
We can do it all. Anything you want. We know someone.
We can take wedding photos and be your wedding band. And Dave can do the what's it called, the service.
Yeah, I'm a minister.
Yeah, so
That's amazing. You guys are gonna shit, but I actually was thinking this as I was watching the band. I was like, and I got married a long time ago, but I said, you know what? If I could get remarried to the same woman, of course, not anything. I said I would totally hire you guys. So I'm actually thinking.
Wait.
Just throw another wedding.
Yeah, we're down.
Renew your vows. We'll be there.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably just be like an anniversary party, but I would love to have you guys for that.
Because we all know that those settings where it's just like
the crowd is a bunch of family and friends, and they're all getting drunk.
Woo!
It's the best time.
Can't
That's
ask
the
for
best
anything
time.
better.
We've all played wedding bands, right?
Yeah.
Best gig. I love the wedding band gig.
Yeah. I've done some wedding gigs too. It can be a ton of fun for sure. And by the way, it's a great way to make money, right? Because people will spend on what's quality, and you guys are certainly that. I wouldn't, even thinking back to my wedding, I wouldn't have blinked and to pay you guys to come in and do what you do. You guys are killer.
Wedding agency, yes. We'll put the whole thing on for you. We'll get
what a service, right? If you could just do everything.
During the ceremony, he's gonna be playing harpsichord. I'm gonna be playing like piccolo trumpet, and then we're the same dudes filming your wedding, and Dave's your
minister.
Your minister. You get to look at his face, and then imagine we start playing as you kiss the bride, and you're already there. The full Sabbatical Bob wedding experience.
We sell moments.
Yeah. Every kiss.
We got the slogan. It's perfect.
Moments.
And then for the dance part, you'll see for the first time ever Ben in a dress.
Oh wait,
in wig.
That's extra. That is an extra fee. Large tip required.
Let's let him finish the interview.
Sorry.
That's all right. I told you we could do conversational, man. This is fun stuff. I think it's actually kind of a brilliant idea, like this like Sabbatical Bob full service wedding company or something like that. Who knows, man? There's room for anything.
Can we really?
We need an F-350 like all white truck.
Oh my god!
With no windows.
No, the RV. We can use the RV.
Oh my god!
We just come out in suits, bro, and sunglasses.
Oh my god! Well,
I love it. You guys
about
are
to weddings.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's some of the best ideas come in the most random places, but I could almost visualize that,
dude.
Yeah,
I'm very down.
Oh man, so funny. I think anybody that goes back and watches this interview is gonna love it.
If you've made it this far, you've won in life.
Yeah, you won.
Yeah. So I got just like a couple more questions, man. You guys, obviously, yeah. So the wedding gigs, like, I think you guys could play anywhere. You guys are super tight. The face melting music, it's definitely face melting. You've played some really great shows. You got some legit press write-ups. There was just looks like Michigan Radio just featured you guys talking about your gig at the Blind Pig. In terms of like next steps, you guys have reached some different levels, right? And I hear you like coalescing and like you're kind of forming and continuing to like iterate on this business, right? Because music is, at the end of the day, yes, it's art, but it's also a business. What are some next steps for you guys in terms of like really solidifying those business ideas for people that are listening? What do you think is critical in next steps?
I think something that was really important was the printing press that we just got, because that gives us the ability to really like up the merchandise that we can like give out to people and in a really professional way and completely DIY. Like, it's still us making the stuff, which is like, something I think that people might think about, like, wow, like the people that are playing music in front of me also made like these shirts and like made the videos that they're watching, and we recorded our own stuff, and like we are like that. I think that's like really important.
Yeah.
Like, as far as like, yeah, like having it all under one space, because like if we outsourced to other places to make shirts and we got someone else to do this, that, and the other thing, like Dave and I are going to be in mounds of debt very quickly. So we stay net positive and just work a little harder.
Yeah. And the next record is going to be like full length.
Yeah, and it's going to be like full
production.
The last one we did all live.
The live stuff is incredible, guys. I got to say, but there's, as like there's also something about a studio record,
Yeah.
It's a different thing. And obviously, like, even when you guys go on tour, you can get a feed from the board and continue to pull in live stuff, especially if the engineer's worth their salt, you're good to go. And you can keep doing that. Do you ever at any point, if it's appropriate, do you guys ever encourage any fans to like record live, or are you a little bit more like, no, we're going to take care of the live and then push it out? I'm just thinking, because somebody mentioned Grateful Dead earlier. I thought, yeah, that was a thing with the Dead because you guys improv and stuff like that. Any thoughts on that?
I'll say make your decision based on how we made our decision. So you can go either way. We made our decision because we wanted to record our first song, and we did in the studio, and it was flat. It was just like, well,
Whoa.
what is this?
No.
And we did like tracking and like
Tried it a few different ways, and we were like, nah, this ain't it.
And then we record. I don't think
we were already like playing heavy live shows like multiple times a weekend, and it was like when we played live, it was a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Than when we played one at a time in a room.
So we decided that we would go to the room that we played the most shows in, a basement in Carytown in Ann Arbor, and have our friends come in, Jeff and Joey, who are also music students.
Stinky and Shitty Productions.
They came and recorded it in the basement of this place in the same setup that we play in, pretty much. Like, it was the same room.
And we just did it there.
We just did it.
All day.
So we pretty much our sound flourishes in the live setting. So that's why we decided on that. And I think we want to do some like more like the next one.
The next one's gonna be a live bass with everything else we wanted on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's just like the best ice cream cone you could ever want. You just have all the flavors. And
I actually prefer, in every band that I've been in, I actually prefer recording in that way. You know, if you can get in a situation where things are isolated enough, if you need to pull anything back or overdub anything, you know, that's how the day nights, you know, like that's how we're doing it. We do it live, and then we go back, like vocals is isolated. It just, you get you just get a better vibe that way. And for you guys, like as big as your band is, like just all the energy that's in that room, like that's hard to replicate if you're just multi-tracking, you know, I just don't even know how you would do it. So I'm excited for the record. I can't wait to hear the studio stuff, because it's a different kind of listening experience, but your live shit is so cool. It's definitely on spin for us at Grove Studios, man. Really appreciate it. I wish we could have been out there at the Blind Pig show. Let's talk. We were talking before the interview and before your set that we're going to find a way to do some outdoor live performances. I know that's something that we're working on. We're talking about drive-in concerts, and we're doing some stuff at the studio, but very limited audiences, about like 20 to 25 people, kind of a VIP thing out in our courtyard. So maybe that's something we could talk about, but it'd be super fun to have you guys out. And we'll talk offline about that. But, you know, there's a lot of there is some uncertainty, right? Like it's not going to be easy right now to just jump on a tour. But you guys are going to have a record to support, and I imagine you'll want to jump out on tour to do that. Lots of uncertainty, lots of things going on. Is there anything, and I'd love to hear from each of you, is there anything that you feel is certain right now, whether it's about the band, about the world, or about the music industry?
What is certain?
There is going to be change.
Yeah, change is imminent.
Change is upon us
now.
Change is right now.
Change. Yeah.
I mean, the window for what side of history you're going to be on is quickly closing.
Right now. Which side are you on?
You just better be where you're going to be, because it's about to. It's going to flip. Everything's going to flip. Who knows? Everything that we just talked about, all our tips and everything, could be not even completely irrelevant in the next 5 years.
I think the most important thing about all of that is just by any means necessary, do what you're gonna do, and do it the way you love it. Because don't put yourself in a place where you're gonna hate it, because it'll kill you.
It's gonna come back.
So yeah, by any means necessary. Some about the band. What are we sure about? It's funky out here, straight up.
Yeah, people want funk again.
Yeah, people didn't even know what it was. We're playing straight James Brown, and people are like, "Huh? Is that jazz?" We're like, "No, check it. It's the funk. It's back."
You said
third one. What's certain
Dang,
about life?
school is done for
School is
David
done.
and I. It's time coming back. School is at 0. We got the degree. The University of Michigan has officially sent us our degrees via PDF for download. So if anyone would like a PDF of my diploma to hang up in their living room, or I can make that available for a small donation, whatever you like. Yeah.
I love it. I'm truly excited to see what you guys do next, man. You're a great bunch of musicians. You guys are doing some really cool stuff. You got an amazing sound. You're super fun to hang out with. So we got to do that live sometime. Let's talk about doing a show. I think the outdoor thing is totally cool. It's summertime, so everybody loves being outside.
Don't we all have fond memories of being kids, going to summer festivals, getting in a blanket with your parents, and that's just like very nostalgic for me, at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other side of the state.
I'm glad that the pandemic at least partially is taking place in the summer, because if it was December right now, we'd be even more miserable. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, you guys, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing your performance with us. We're gonna keep up with you guys, put you on blast when we can, when you guys are out there doing your thing. So grateful to have you as part of the local music scene. Thanks for doing this today, man.
Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
For sure. Everybody, if you just watching the end of this or just tuning in, that was members of Sabbatical Bob, Ben Green, Kassan Belgrave, and David Ward. Sabbatical Bob's an amazing band. You can check out their stuff on Bandcamp. You can see them on YouTube. Just search for Sabbatical Bob. They have a unique name, and if you Google Sabbatical Bob, you will find them. Super great bunch of guys. Looking forward to what they do next. Just to remind you, we have a crowdfunding campaign going on right now for Grove Studios. It's patronicity.com /Grove Studios. If you're willing and you support what we do, any donation that you have, $10 or more, we will definitely be grateful for that. And that's going to help us continue to support local music. And with our facility at Grove Studios over on Railroad Street in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been Grove Sessions. Sabbatical Bob, any final words before we tune out?
Rick Coughlin.
Shout out Rick Coughlin.
I am Rick Coughlin.
Mr. Cough.
Woo! Woohoo! No, keep it funky, keep it real, base everything in love. That's
everything on love, and you will never be wrong.
Everything.
I think that's perfect advice. Ben, Kassan, and David, appreciate you guys, man. We'll see you live soon, brothers. Have a great weekend. We'll talk.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Peace.